Hello, listeners. For today's interview, we have composer, pianist, and multi-instrumentalist Carl J. LaMark. Among other things, we'll be talking about his performance of Eric Satie's Vexations and other projects. So let's get going. All right, welcome, Carl J. LaMark, composer and performer. When we met, so a couple of years ago, I don't think I actually knew what your primary instrument was. I see a beautiful hollow body in the background and guitars. Are you primarily a guitarist?
No, I'm primarily a pianist.
Oh, okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but I play about 17 instruments, and
Ooh, okay.
for our general group of friends, that's a small amount. But
really, okay.
Well, yeah, some of us are multi-instrumentalists. You play sitar, viola da gamba, and what have you. But
Okay.
I'm primarily pianist, guitarist, bassist, arranger, composer, orchestrator, and I play violin, viola, cello, and the entire woodwind section, and yeah, the list goes on. But
man, I have to say that woodwinds are a complete mystery to me. I don't understand them at all.
You never picked up a sax in middle school or something like that?
No. Like you, I was primarily a pianist. For me, I didn't get into other instruments, until much later in life. I don't know if you can see it. I've got an arpeggione in the background.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Do you play viola gamba?
No, I've never tried that. I know like the rudiments. I have like a fifth grader's understanding of those instruments, string instruments, but still, when you want to work on playability and such, just having that general knowledge at your fingertips is incredibly helpful.
Right.
When I did my senior thesis at VCFA, I wanted to make wound up having to make my own sample library. So I had to play every single note on all the string instruments 127 times, So yeah, that training had some use to it.
We're both VCFA, Vermont College of Fine Arts, Masters of Fine Arts in Music Composition graduates. What was your thesis? Yeah. Wait, do they have a mascot? I think it's just a square.
We should. We need like a fight song, right? or school song that's an 8 total mess or something like that.
Sorry. Okay, that was sidetracked. What did you do for your thesis? What was the composition?
I wanted to score one of Warhol's screen tests of Edie Sedgwick.
Okay.
And yeah, one thing about the way I do things, I don't like to do a lot of dramaturgy or programming notes. I just put it out there and people could take from it what it was. But yeah, she had a very difficult upbringing. She was probably what we would call now bipolar, but she is just a stunning individual. And yeah, the screen test says so much just by her eyes. So it's only like 3 minutes long, but I slowed it down so it's about 10 minutes for a proper chamber piece.
Okay.
And yeah, can you imagine when you go to we have like a film festival every semester at VCFA where people play stuff that they've had placed and kind of sound designy, slow thing. And I thought it was kind of, I didn't realize how bold it was at the time, but it had the effect I wanted it to. Yeah, I didn't want to do something that was very research based. I wanted to do something that I've been thinking about for a long time, yet I had not found that key, that unlocking point in myself and my skill set to really bring out something or invite as many interpretations as I could. So you can read it as her own personal, narrative, her own neuroses. You can read it as many things. But one thing I don't like bringing intention into the name. I want to be everywhere in a composition. I want to be nowhere. you know?
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah, I want to just create an object of interpretation. I don't want it to be, oh, this is me expressing this part of me or my concern with this social justice issue or this my own travels through therapy. No,
Okay.
everything you want to take from it, it's up there.
Okay.
Now find it.
Well, is there a recording of it? Is there a place to find that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's on YouTube, the
Mhm.
full video. The
Okay.
Warhol Foundation is not taking it down yet because it is copyrighted material,
Okay.
Michael. So well,
Well, hopefully I didn't just out you.
I'm very proud
But
of it though.
yeah, well, no, it would be great to link to it. I'll put it in the description.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
appreciate
So the primary thing that you're working on right now, though, is the Satyfactions.
yeah, as a performer, it's one of the opportunities that have come along.
Mhm.
Let's see, we talked about this before the recording, but
Yeah. Well, could you?
I was contacted by. Oh yeah, let's see. After I finished at VCFA, I and took care of some family matters. I finally moved to the city and got involved in the scene, but I was involved in projects that just kept falling apart because someone was dropping the ball, another collaborator, or I was supposed to do a film, but they found another composer. I was still supposed to do the horn charts on this one guy's album, but they didn't like them.
Mm,
They were like, "What's all this jazz shit, Carl?"
mm.
I'm like, "All right, good luck with that, buddy." Okay, boomer. um, and yeah, is there any okay boomer? Boomers hate jazz. Okay, so
Is that
whatever.
true?
That's a it
Wait,
kind of
wait.
is. Like grew up with 60s and 70s
Oh
rock.
shit! No, you're
Yeah, so
right. Yeah. Now that I think of it, I like I go to church with like a whole bunch of people that are in their 60s and
yeah.
70s, and they do not like jazz. You're right.
Mhm. That's their
Yeah.
parents' music. It is.
Yeah.
And in this, well, actually, this is pretty good to talk about for other composers because I was dealing with like I thought was a temp track.
Mhm.
It's just a MIDI recording of some horn stuff. It sounded like really bad 80s Lionel Richie or something like that. They
Right.
sent this to me, and the entire song is just D minor 7 G7, D minor 7 G7 through the entire thing, all 3.5 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is probably a joke. Okay, they're actually looking for a full-fledged three-part harmony horn chart. Because I had been working with David Berger from Jazz at Lincoln Center, I was like, okay, they actually want me to bring my real chops to this. So I write this whole thing, really funk-oriented, chordal harmony and all this other stuff, and they hated it. They really did.
Wow. Yeah.
They tried to give me, and then they were like, no, we just wanted you to transcribe what the temp track was. I'm like, seriously?
Hmm.
So I'm up in this boomer's garage up in Highwood, which is a northern suburb. I'm like, wait a second, you did this MIDI straight into Pro Tools. Here, select this region, go to File, select MIDI data. Okay, you got all the information. You didn't have to hire me at all. They
Right.
tried handing me a they tried handing me a check, but I was so embarrassed. Yet what I just did was just kind of putting in their place right there. So I'm like, no, the satisfaction I just did that to you is all I
So,
need.
so they didn't know how to export MIDI data.
No, they did not. Yet they had a
Okay.
$10,000 microphone in front of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
trust when you're dealing with a producer, make sure they actually have the chops and they've read the manual of their dog, Yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, it
Okay.
turns out that album's terrible now. Yeah, so I got to be a little bit show offy there at the same time being a little bit humiliated in front of the session musicians. And one of the session musicians, when they're playing through my stuff, they're like, this is actually better than what you had over here on the
Yeah.
temp. And then the guy just kind of completely ignored him and just kind of looked at me very sternly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a learning experience because, when you're dealing with people, especially singer songwriters who don't have a lot of general knowledge of production or theory or performance, you really should be conscious and ask questions that would seem very basic. Like, okay, do you want me to arrange something for you?
Right.
Or do you want me to transcribe it? There's a
Right.
difference. Yeah. So,
That's
hope
no, but
someone,
that's good advice.
hope that helps someone. I hope that helps someone.
Yeah, yeah. And for those of us who do a lot of collaboration work, it's Oh, geez. It's like no matter how crystal clear I try to be in what we're working on, it seems like something always gets lost in the weeds. I don't know. Yeah, but I do want to talk about Vexations, since that
Okay,
is,
well,
yeah.
as I was saying, all these projects seem to have fallen apart somewhere along the
Right.
chain. In the months I started living in the city,
Mhm.
uh, one day I was so kind of despondent and like, all right, what can I do where I only have to rely on myself? If anything goes wrong, it's on me.
Right.
I'm not beholden to anyone. And not only that, what's a project that actually people would want to turn into where it seems like there is something at stake? And I was just shaving one morning, and it was probably in that December or January of that year. And I thought, what's the next day that's a palindrome? These are the things I think about randomly in the morning when I haven't had my coffee. 02 2020.
Right.
Yeah. And I figured, oh, that would be a good day to do Vexations, a piece that's a palindrome. I don't have to practice that much. My chops were not that as a performer weren't up to scratch because I basically focused on composition all through grad school.
Right.
It seemed like the right thing. And I had practiced 12 hours of Rachmaninoff before, when I was a teenager. Well, why can't I play 12 to 16 hours of Satie? That was the thinking. But in the preparation, though, was all psychological, basically lying in bed with no sound going around me and just trying to stay present the entire time and
Mm.
stay with a thought. And actually, the best advice I can give for someone who's doing or ever pursuing doing Vexations in their own type of performance that's not, traditionally it's done in shifts by pianists. If you're going to try to do that, just say to yourself, I don't have to play for 12 hours. I just have to make it through one at a time.
Right.
I
Right.
just have to I just have to do one more. I just have to do one more. I just have to do one more. I just have to make it through one more.
Mhm.
I just have to make it through today. I don't have to stay sober for 20 years. I just have to make it. That type of thing.
That's good advice. Yeah. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
looking, I looked up one recording of Vexations, and it was like 9 hours, and they had rotating pianists.
Yeah, they
Um,
do it in New York quite often. I'm the first American to do it solo, first documented American. So I have that feather in my
yeah.
cap. That's how they found me. That's why they wanted to include me as the only American in this project.
Right.
A Tokyo collective is inviting me, and it's being released on a Belgian label, the off label.
Yeah.
So, you never know where the opportunity is going to come from.
And
And we can talk about how you split the proceeds, the Bandcamp money. We can talk about all that too if people are interested.
could be, yeah. Well, how did they come
Yeah.
across you? Was it through your Bandcamp or YouTube release?
No, I did an interview with WFMT, I want to say the premier classical station in Chicago, but it's the only classical station in Chicago. Yeah, they did a full article on me, and on their Facebook page, it was the most viewed article of the year.
Okay.
So it still showed up on Google, and they found me and they Facebook friended me and all that.
Cool.
Wataru Akioto, I think his name is.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first bit of press I ever did paid off a year later,
Yeah.
and that was after pandemic, after all the mess that I went through, which we'll come to later. Yeah, it was very gratifying, and it's not the most lucrative thing, but I can say that I'm a recording artist.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
legitimized in this sense. Yeah. Even if
Well,
1,500 people tuned into the live stream I did of the first performance that year.
really.
So if 2,000 people download it, that's $1,000 in my pocket I didn't have before. So yeah,
I
it's not bad.
I just spent oh gosh, I just released quite a bit of music myself, and I was looking at the budget for how much money I spent to make the album, and it was about $1,000, from beginning to end.
Not
And
including your education and the
what?
year, not including your education and the
Oh,
years.
well, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, so the idea of actually money coming in, not just money going out is exciting, I imagine.
Yeah, I was also contacted by the Parma label. They found me on SoundCloud, and
Okay.
they wanted to. They were very interested in my piano quartet of all things.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's the most dissonant thing I've ever done. It was my first piece in grad school. They're like, okay, we can do an entire album of your music. We can get it released on Naxos, the Nexos label, but you'll have to put money forward for this to the tune of 7 to 10 grand.
Oh,
I'm
geez.
And they're like, yeah, this probably won't make money, but it will legitimize you. I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I know it has a reputation among,
Right.
especially the New York crowd, but I'm like, I want to find something else, another way of doing it, another way of a more, not just an album of original music, but something that's unique to me. That
Right.
was my thinking.
Right.
And it turns out, yeah, the Vexations thing came about. You ask the universe for something and it gives it to you.
That is that is something that I think I'm learning more and more in this phase of my life. Yeah. So I mean, it seems like the whole lockdown and reflection and a couple of dead ends actually worked out to your benefit.
Yeah, but that was after a very fallow period,
Mhm.
because I went through lockdown like everyone else. It was like I did the first iteration of Vexations, and then the next month everything's shut down. February and
Right.
then March
Right.
2020,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
I broke one of my legs, and then I broke the other leg, and then I broke my arm and my wrist. I got mugged, and they broke 4 of my ribs,
Jeez.
and yeah, I had COVID too. That was 3 months of recovery. It affected my kidneys. I had a tumor removed from my kidney.
Right.
So that entire year was spent just rebuilding myself. I had to learn to walk again. How do I carry myself?
Right.
And yeah, things like that. One coworker, I have a day job right now, helping managing a grocery store, and someone commented, "You hold yourself very masculine. You know that, right? Very confident." I'm like, "Well, thank you. That took a lot of work."
Right.
I
Well, all right. So
Go ahead.
I guess what I'd be curious about is, how does that affect, going through hell like that,
Hmm.
which I guess is a subject that I'm kind of fond of. It's like people's return from hell.
Are you really
Um,
into the Book of Job, or?
yeah, yeah. Seriously, I, I have read the Book of Job many times. So I guess what I'm most curious about is how that affects the creative process.
Uh, it reaffirms something that my father taught me. He was a creative director for Sears Advertising for 30 years. Did very well by himself despite not having training. I miss him every day. He was an incredibly talented painter. I keep his painting palette on the wall back there. It's framed. Anyway, um,
Nice.
what he taught when you're working, especially in the ad agency type of scenario, which I'm moving into. I have my own production company with TJ McGlinchey, the Reverend TJ McGlinchey, and we're working on that. You can't just wait for the muse to hit you. You just have to spend the years honing your craft and find that drive to sit down, and eventually it will find you
Okay.
once you pay your dues and put in the work,
Right.
which is how I always work, you know not just for a client asks you to do this or come up with something. When I'm working on something that's quote unquote serious, I don't wait around for this really precious idea or this precious sentiment or something like that.
Mhm.
No, I just, all right, what's a pitch class set that I find interesting, or what's a style that I haven't really explored before, and then I just dive in.
Mhm.
And there are many kind of detours you take, and eventually you come back to material that you wrote down, you thought wasn't good, you massage it, you come back. It's yeah, I don't believe in waiting, really.
Right. I guess it's kind of having
When you lose, no, go ahead.
Oh no, all I was going to say is it's kind of like a blue collar mentality. you know, that you've got a job to
So,
do,
yeah.
you know, that your job is that of a creator, you know, and so you just have to buckle down and do it.
And when you think of, I don't like referencing, the great composers, but
Mhm.
Bach, Mozart,
Yeah, yeah,
Beethoven, name anyone. They don't wait around. They sit
yeah.
down and they do it every day.
Well,
It's not as though they have this. It's not as though they have this halo of inspiration constantly.
right.
No.
What I thought was amazing, you know, which it couldn't, well, I can't say it couldn't happen, but the idea of like you spend Monday through Thursday writing your cantata, and then Friday and
Mhm.
Saturday the choir and the orchestra rehearses it, and it's shown on Sunday. You know, that
Mhm.
is unbelievable to me. You know, I play in a church worship band, and our music is hyper simple, but we still take like 3 weeks before showing a new track or a new song.
Well, it's like thinking when Shakespeare's plays were first performed, or anything by Marlowe or
Yeah,
Sidney. They didn't have a ton of time. They
that's
didn't
true.
have everything perfectly memorized. We
Yeah,
have this idea that everything was so sacrosanct at every single moment.
right.
You gotta, I don't know why history plays that trick on us. Or maybe it's a contemporary thing, because if you listen to recordings or piano reels from the early 20th century, there's tons of mistakes by Scriabin and Rachmaninoff,
Hmm.
and there's tons of liberties taken even with some of the most well-known classical pieces. And there's so much individuality in that
Right.
too, Mike. Yeah, and that's been
That,
lost and standardized with contemporary recordings by people like Yundi Lee, Martha Argerich, Pogorelic,
yeah.
what have you. It's all so perfect from so
I
many mistakes. Yeah.
That is such a good point. That's such a good point because um you know, I was reading a book on Beethoven, and Beethoven made, when he was a performer, you know, made a lot of changes to his pieces, you know, that it was kind of standard for him to do that. But we have this idea when it comes to especially classical music that you are recreating the voice of the composer in a way.
And I can understand that. And I think that's bleeded over into what we are constantly taught in grad school.
Yeah.
You have to be as explicit as possible
Yes.
on every
Yeah.
single point. The
Yeah.
scores have to be immaculate. Your point has to come across quickly because these people don't have a ton of time to practice this,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at any score, there's not that much there with Beethoven, except maybe in the later works where he does get very explicit and in
Right.
German, not Italian. Um, it's, yeah, it leaves room for interpretation. It really,
I
the idea of interpretation
right.
in contemporary classical music is non-existent.
You're singing my song, man. And I remember talking to some musicians that were playing, and they were just asking these fine details. And I'm like, can you just play the notes? You know, you don't need, I don't think you need me to, but I,
No, I think it's a point that needs a little belaboring. It really
yeah,
does. You understand where it comes from, because the whole industry is predicated on this system where people are just given the scores very quickly and this and that. So we're not going to change anything here much.
if only, yeah, maybe once I double my subscriber base from 100 to 200, then we can get going on that.
Oh yeah,
So
you got to start somewhere, right?
that's right. Okay, so after you're through with the Sati project, what do you think is next?
I'm I've been working with Jessica Colito. You remember her?
I
Yeah,
do.
she's
Yeah.
my I guess she's my life coach right now. I have
Okay.
weekly sessions with. I have a psychiatrist, a therapist, and a life coach. How
Wow.
privileged am I?
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
see her LinkedIn updates frequently.
uh,
So
she's
yeah.
amazing, and I guess we're thinking of how I'm going to brand myself and how I'm going to ride this wave. I guess I'm going to be performing the whole thing over again in late July at some venue or other, and
Okay.
then I'm going to think on more. I guess I want to do a more traditional oriented recital and have it at a good venue. But at the same time, you have to compartmentalize. Okay, this is my life as a performer. This is my life as a composer. This is my life as a producer. This is my life as a collaborator.
Right.
You know, they all spill over into each other, but you kind of have to have your own elevator pitch for each and every one and have a clear idea and goal in mind for each and every one of those. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm working with Jessica to kind of solidify and crystallize exactly what I want to do with each and one of these, attributes of myself. So that I'm still working on myself. The work I did in quarantine was enough. I have to keep doing this. I have to keep a clear idea. I did a lot of work. I'm happy with the person I am now. Now it's time to focus. You got your confidence back. You have your body back from all the work. Now, okay, what do you want to do career-wise, or what we can call spiritually, artistically? And I'm a firm believer of, if you want to achieve a goal, you have to have a clear idea of what that goal is.
Me too.
So even if that goal is, okay, I want to just be able to pay my rent strictly through sync licensing or advertising. Won't have to quit my day job immediately, but it's an achievable goal.
Okay.
And I think this may be a very privileged white middle class mentality too, but you can't think of, okay, how am I going to get a raise? How am I going to make an extra $200 a week? If you can just break it down to the day, how can I just make it through today and make an extra $30? Then it becomes doable.
Okay.
It really does. You can't think, I have to learn an entire recital program. No, I have to just learn the first page of this.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's good to think long-term, but at the same time, if you keep that in the foreground in your mind, it will be suffocating and you won't achieve anything. Break it down. Well, that's on my own personal work ethic right there.
Well, no, that is brilliant advice. It's actually, it's very much what I've been trying to get across to my students, who like it, especially, for teenagers and young people, there's these grand goals in mind, which is admirable. It's absolutely wonderful to have these big dreams, but it's like, how do you create a staircase from here to there? And the way that you do that is just like what you said. It's like, every day, if you can add something every day, then you'll get there.
I think John Malia gave me the advice where I thought, when I was stuck for a brief period of time, when I thought I had writer's block, I don't believe in that anymore. But anyway, he said, even if you just go to the score and adjust the expression marks, at least you've done something today.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm beating a dead horse here. The Vexations thing, the philosophy that I developed there, you just have to make it through this one repetition. Not all 840, just that one. And you're going, and suddenly you're playing in the premier arts club of Chicago,
Right. That resolve, though, that confidence and that resolve that you're shining with it. It's beautiful. It is that. Did the trials have something to do with that? Was that always there?
I am such a different person now.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I was actually having a great talk last night from my friend Michael Kazepis. He's a great author. He runs King Shot Press. We were just shooting the shit on literature and stuff. And he's such a fidgety guy, even though he's one of the most brilliant writers I know. And Jessica describes me as having a very calm, confident demeanor now. I don't know what in quarantine did that to me. I really don't. Part of it maybe have been, the bit of physical therapy I did. Maybe it was because I watched a ton of comedy podcasts and kind of, I guess, subconsciously aped the behavior of many performers or something like that. Or maybe COVID rewired my brain. I don't have panic attacks anymore, and I have nothing mediating my thoughts from my speech, really, or my actions. I can just immediately give it to you confidently. My coworker once said, how do you do that? Someone asks you something, it's just right there immediately.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. It just happened that way. I'm blessed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it sounds like a blessing. Man, That's another half hour. Is there anything that you'd like to promote before we wrap up?
Oh God. Well,
Not
well,
to put you on the spot.
I keep, if I have to say Vexations one more
Hey,
time,
that's cool, man. Yeah.
well, it will be
All right.
released on the off label sometime this year.
Okay.
Also, I've started my own company with TJ McGlinchey, TJCJ Sounds.
Okay.
We're specializing in a full service production agency. So look out for that rollout. We're going to start our own Patreon soon. And yeah, it was really great catching up with you, Mike.
Oh, you too. Yeah, it's been too long, and I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think in my notes here somewhere, I think I still have the movie recommendations you gave me the first time we met.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yep, they're here. They're here somewhere.
I feel honored.
Baraha? No, this would have been 2015. It doesn't go back that far.
Yeah, we were so much younger back then.
Oh, I was
Well,
so much older then.
right?
I'm younger than that now. Happy birthday, Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Okay. And please send me the links to your stuff so I can get those in the description.
Will do, Mike. All right,
All right.
keep in touch, okay?
Take care, man.
Bye.